thinking, what do I do with this demonstration of writing a program, goals and means? I mean, it'd be easy to just maybe one way just to explain it, but I suppose
That's never as fun as having somebody do it.
it's it's true, right? It's like why can't you just wave your hand and rewrite a program? I mean, in some sense you can, right? I mean, you wrote it that way. Not in some sense. It's I mean, it's not like you got down and and when you were a kid and like let me go through the 11 steps. And by the way, why 11? Well, it's a convenient handy way to point out the facets of a program. Why not 12? I probably maybe there could be. I don't know.
John always says that he didn't want another 12 step.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, but why do we present it that like this way? Like, well, here's kind of, here's my take. Um, Programs have facets and aspects to them. I mean, if you look at like the goal, like, yeah, I mean, a program, it wants to go somewhere. What's it gonna, what's it trying to accomplish? But if you just stop there, I mean, if I woke up in the morning and I know people do this, there are mantras and all sorts of things, and they're fine. They're positive power of positive thoughts, or what else do we hear? Put it out there to the source, or here's a really popular one: let's just manifest it, right? And I get that. It's a really popular way to think about it, but I don't. I think it falls short of thinking about the depth and breadth and width of a program. Let me just manifest it. Today, what I'd really like to happen is to get that new job. Let me get that new job. And I think we talked about yesterday that, if you had that thought, let me get a new job, let me get a new job, let me get a new job, that would, work its way through programmatically. That would adjust the way you think about things, right? Does anyone think that that's not right? That if you just, dead fastly wanted to get a new job, you're going to get a new job, right? I don't think you have to be like, fuck, I want to get a new job, but I didn't really write this 11-step program. No, you'll probably get a new job if you really want to get a new job. What do you guys think?
I think that's true, Ken. I think what you're talking about also kind of qualifies, at least in my mind, as a life hack.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to get a result, maybe a little more productive, maybe you'll get that job a little faster. But do you really understand what you're doing to your thinking process to get it done? No, you don't.
You don't. So like picking up what you said, like these facets, 11 facets of a program point to how programs operate in the body. And I guess you could say that the way we think is extended through our nervous system to the tips of our fingers and the tips of our toes. But it's like, what if you woke up in the morning and you're like, I want to get that job, but like you weren't aware of things like what your charisma is. Like what if your charisma was like, yeah, you and the horse that you rode in on? And what if that was always the way that you kind of went at things? Or maybe one of the kind of the main charismas that you've used, hey, motherfucker, to be aware of that kind of life hack is, Paul, as you said, Paul, that would be a pretty important thing, because you might fall short there if you're not paying attention to how you think about things and the various aspects of, your programs. What do you think? Makes sense? Sort of? maybe.
Makes sense to me.
Makes sense, right? I mean, I can't say anything's wrong. I wouldn't, you couldn't say anything's wrong with the, going about things with, I'm going to get it done. But knowing how you operate in those areas of your thinking that are below the level of awareness is be pretty important because, like we were talking about yesterday, like your memories are like your map of going forward. So you're already a cartographer, a map maker in the form of your memories, in the form of your thoughts that you use to navigate. And so do you always step in holes? You always end up in fights, and what part of your map, what aspect of your map leads you to step into the same hole all the time? Well, this goals means program is a pretty handy way to kind of cordon off the aspects of programming so you can see how various aspects of it come into play. Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Ken.
We do the this in depth in an intro class, and even in way more depth in a rewrite. People are often, if not always, surprised by the thoughts that they use to go about things because they haven't been introduced to them. They operate below the level of awareness. So like we'll go through these program steps, and we'll basically lay the foundation that we laid in the 2 weeks or week, whatever, leading up to tonight's class. And then we'll just, so what's your goal? And then we'll go through all 11 steps over the course of the next, day and a half. And wouldn't you know it, as we stop in each step, people get a glimpse of their resident programming.
It's tough to make one goal. It's like as I've been writing this process through you guys, I think about myself like, okay, if I do a rewrite, what's my goal? Then I think, I'm not quite sure because I'm trying to figure out currently what it is that I'm trying to reprogram or write a new program. Because some things it's like, you don't quite understand them. Like I'm trying to think of early childhood memories and how some of them I just don't think connect to this maybe feeling that I think I could rethink myself to feel, and but
say
it
that
must
again.
be.
You have to say that this feeling that I have to rethink myself to feel.
So it's like, all right, let's say deep down it's like for George the last night it was that he was arrogant, okay? And let's say my thing deep down is there is an anger, because I think somehow we're all a little angry, and we can hide it a lot, but I think that sometimes it may come out and may creep out, So now I think back of what are my childhood memories that are making me feel these things in my gut when I don't want to feel them, which are probably causing me to make bad decisions, like, if you're talking with your wife and you're not thinking through and you go with your gut, boom, you're going, what I'm saying, like whatever. Same thing in business, same thing with employees, Yep. So it's like this feeling that I'm trying to kind of get my grasp on. And I only relate it to, like, I'll give you an example. My brother cut from the same stone. The guy is a real calm guy. I wish that I could be that calm about certain things. It's either that or he hides it amazingly well. So it's like, is it something that a program he's written in his life to make him accept certain things in a calm fashion? Whereas maybe myself, I've written a program to myself to accept things in other than this calm fashion. Not any situation. It's got to be like peak certain situations, But what childhood memory am I trying to recapture? And then at the same time, what is my goal? You know what I mean? Is my goal in this scenario stop being angry?
Okay. Well, not so much stopping, because like when you program a computer, you couldn't program it and say, all right, I'm going to write in stopping angry because the computer won't hear the stopping part. That's like a negative. Or if you want to get somewhere in a computer, you actually have to tell it where to go. You can't program in stop. Don't do this. Stop doing that. You can't. The computer doesn't understand the negative. Stop. Don't be angry. Stop doing this part. It just doesn't hear it. Don't think of a pink elephant, Ralph. I dare you. But you're probably thinking of one now. Haha.
Yeah.
It's like that. When people do a rewrite, the reason why they start with memories, early childhood memories. And as John was talking about, I think yesterday, some people are like, nah, I don't remember anything. Nothing. I got nothing. And then sure enough, they're like, well, I lived in Hoboken
I started doing that yesterday because you're right. When you think off the bat, what do you remember? Not much. But when you start dissecting, all right, let me think back to where was I? Ken, I remember a lot of things. Now I'm trying to remember in chronological order where they are in my life, but and then trying to dissect, does it mean anything? You know what I mean? Or which one of these things that I'm trying to change about my behavior that it could be connected to? Because again, I don't think it's just one thing. Anger, that's one on the list. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
have a laundry list that's probably a mile long too. But
Well,
which one's connected to what?
well, so for me, it was just like tidbits. Like I didn't like have like day in the life of Ken Kaplan when I was 2. But I certainly remembered my room being on fire one morning and running into my parents' room, and the way that memory was for me, which is, was that I ran in there, and I think it was around the time my dad and mom had split or separated, and he wasn't there, and somehow I translated that into like that either uh, my mom had like made him go. They were like freaking 16 and 17 years old,
Wow. Well,
right?
they're
Yeah,
young.
yeah, that young. But I look at me. I'm 2 years old, and watching that divorce go down, and coming to some conclusions that adults would not likely come to, but kids often do. So like that came up. That memories like that came up when I did my rewrite. And then like working with John at the time, with a few more questions, it was became apparent to me how that memory then got written in as a program that became, as John Lilly would say, the rule of my life. Which is no surprise, right? That's what programs do. They operate like programs. They're going to do the same things.
What do you think rule it applied to your life, that event?
Yeah, Ken, what would you say precisely you learned?
Yeah.
Because you learned something about reality that day.
Like see, I think that like I was protected by my mom a lot and coddled, and from her point of view, that it's a real hard time for her, and you want to protect your boys. But I also thought that dad was gone because of her. that was real heavy for me. That was, that was real heavy because that you made or caused my dad to go was a theme, and how I treated my mom. What's up, John W?
Hey, Ralph was asking a little bit ago about he keeps worrying about that goal for his rewrite.
Yeah.
Um, you got to be able to see what it is that you're rewriting, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Go back to the earliest memory possible to see what did you see there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had a few. I remember, John, when I did my rewrite with you, that because there were, few pretty powerful experiences surrounding the divorce and things that, that I examined back then when I did my rewrite. I mean, that is what you're asking, right?
I think that, Ken, for what it's worth, I think that people always have those things pretty well marked, really,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Because it just looks like another day in the life, kind of, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say, okay, well, where did this program come from, and you connect the program to something, sometimes it goes back to a memory that's really distorted, that nobody else in the family or that no one else has, even.
Yeah. That is true.
And so that the thing is that you don't know whether the memory was created to support the programming, or the programming was created to support the memory. And it doesn't really make any difference. It's just simply that if you describe the event differently, the memory changes along with the description.
Yeah.
And so therefore the program changes.
Yeah.
And the effect the program has in your life changes somewhat. So it's Ralph, it's what effect do you want to have? The other thing that you keep talking about here is, and I don't think you're going to hear me, but I want to say it again. Anger really is not a meta program.
What is it?
Anger is a program, and it is in response to it. It's hardwired into the biocomputer, and it's in response to a threat. You need to define what the threat is, not what the not that you're angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to figure out what the threat is. How do childhood,
If you look for the threat, okay. In other words, right now, tell me something that makes you angry. That you say, okay, that made me angry. I don't care whether it really makes you angry or whatever. Just tell me something that you react.
All right, I'll give you an example. Employees gonna leave, no notice, no nothing. I should let it roll off my back because I know I have depth and I can change it.
Stop. So, who in your childhood betrayed you?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
I gotta think about it.
Where were you betrayed as a kid? When you were a really little kid, who was it that you thought was going to be a certain way, and they turned out they weren't that way at all? They did something other than what you thought they were going to do. They tricked you. My God.
Like I could think about a childhood memory where a friend down the block who's still my friend threw a stick at my
closer to home. Mom, dad, or brother, granddad, Uncle Charlie, somebody like that. Come on, who real close to you? Real close when you're really little. Who betrayed you?
I don't know. You know something? Maybe I'm thinking like, all right, if it's my mom, my mom made a comment to me because it's just popping up. Like, if I don't know, like if you do that, you won't have friends.
Stop. Okay. All right. Just take that snippet right there. Nothing else. Just dun. Okay. You get angry because of these people. Okay. What are they doing? They're betraying you. They said they do one thing and they do something else. Okay. that is loosely spoken. That's a betrayal of some variety or the other. Is it a betrayal for you? I don't know. I don't even care. I'm just trying to give you an example. But that's an example of someone who has betrayed you. And so that carries with it a pretty bad feeling already, saying, God damn, I trusted you. You said you were going to do this thing, and what is this? But if it's a betrayal for somebody that you rely on, especially like for monetary exchange, etc., then that betrayal can get to be a whole heck of a lot worse for the person, I think. Okay, and so what happens for you then is that you go back to that childhood memory where mom said your friends won't or whatever, maybe way before that somewhere, and you say, okay, what did she mean? Who cares what she meant? Paint it the color that you'd like so you don't feel betrayed.
That's what the rewrite's about.
Yeah.
Painted a different.
Ralph, that's essentially what you're doing, okay? That's what a rewrite is. It's going back to that memory. Say, okay, you know what? Why do I want to remember it like this? I could remember it a lot of different ways. I could paint it lots of different colors. Why am I painting it this color?
And then what? The identification now? It's supposed to make this feeling go away?
Okay. No. It doesn't make the feeling go away. Now, listen carefully what happens. That program that you go back and you're remembering, when did that take place in your memory? It took place way long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Is it connected to a lot of other memories, a lot of other events where you use that same habit or that same series of thoughts of feeling betrayed as you progress through life?
Maybe.
Of
Yeah.
course it did, right? Yeah. Every one of those are now being automatically examined without any conscious thought whatsoever. They're all being automatically examined and saying, okay, yeah, I know you've been holding on to this for years like this, but it's been changed. We got a memo. Change or just change it. Okay, I'll be back. And on down the line to the next memory. That's going on already. That's going on for whatever that thing was that you remembered. It's already being changed. Okay. And it will continue to stay changed until you go back to it again. Right now, as a matter of fact, there are new synapses being grown in your brain for that memory that's being changed, and for every other memory that will be changed as a result of that, there are also new memories, new synapses being grown. Each one of those memories, probably around 500,000 neurons involved, with probably 10 times that number of synapses involved. It's all growing a new synapse arm now. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to remember it? You're going to have a new synapse. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. I hope it's a boy.
Yeah.
That made a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Like it's
because that's how
I don't know how to connect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all right. So a person is okay. Just to get back to like the rewrite, using this as an example. Yeah. How is one and again, I have contact to you tonight, so it's great for me. But how does one, the layman, the regular, who's coming in floating, get that? Like that was pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Ralph, I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth about this one, because you've asked this question about 20 times, and I've left it up to these other people to answer it. And they didn't, so by goddamn, enough of the shit, I'll answer it. These motherfuckers have been too fucking afraid to tell you. Now that's really the long and the short of it. They've had their heads up their asses, and they've been afraid to say what the fuck they know. Now that's really the truth of it. If any one of them have a set of balls at all, or a hair on their ass, they will stand up and say, "Yeah, if it was me, I was chicken shit." Yeah, but they won't do that. See,
no, I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I hope so.
Be intimate with people like that, like John Worthington's intimate with people. We don't really do that in the Kaplan family or a law firm. But I'm, still a pretty cool guy until. That's the thing that John does. That kind of intimacy of because that's really what it's about. It's like somebody you can see they're doing something. And so I had a conversation with I was talking to John, and I think we had Jesse on today. And I mean, this topic really came up, it came up really squarely about dealing with people where they are, what you really see is going on there, because Jesse and George have been down there for a month um, in John's house with a sign that says, "In the fiddler's house, everyone dances," which really means that if you're in John's house, he's going to pay you the courtesy of dealing with real shit and insisting that you deal with real shit. Me in the float center, yeah, not so much, especially at first. I had his book for sale, but Ralph, I'm a pretty nice guy, and nice guys don't deal with shit straight up like that, or so I thought.
Yeah.
I had to adjust my whole thought of like the hell it means to even be a friend. I got to deal with people. I got to talk to them about where they are. Yeah, and it turns out that's why they're coming in anyway. So, I hid the business. I cultified it. I did all sorts of shit to it.
At least you and Terry, you guys are both down this pike here too. Here's the thing. Ralph really deserves an answer from you guys.
Yeah.
He does. And and everybody else that you've ever talked to also deserves this answer. So come on, be fair to you.
Yeah, I had to. First of all, I worked with a facilitator. I worked with John, where we went back and forth over the computer on all of these steps. I didn't do it alone. I had someone whose thinking was outside of my thinking, so that they could point out to me what I was doing because they could see it. I couldn't see it because I was looking through the contact lenses, through the lens of what my belief was. And one of the things I believed was I had to protect people. I had to protect myself, and I had to protect people from my father, and because I also thought my mother betrayed me because she loved my father, because that was normal. Anyway, little kids get these ideas in their heads weird because they're little kids. They aren't thinking adult thoughts. So what they write into their computer programs isn't especially useful, especially when you're an adult. So in order to work with Jesse or with George, I had to change that protect people program to say, I got to talk to these people really about what's going on for them. I can't pussyfoot around it. And, that had to change. And it's continuing to change as it goes through my programming. It isn't, you don't snap your fingers and you find more and more places where it's changing, just like there were so many places that it affected as you were growing up with it. Does that make sense?
But you could snap your fingers, not in the sense of snapping it, but guess how fast that you wrote that program? About this fast.
Yeah.
That's how fast you wrote it.
Yes, you rewrite it that fast, but the effects of it are seen over time.
Here's the thing, too. Okay? So, Ralph, this applies to Elise, but it applies to Terry if she comes on, and everybody. There were arguments. I mean, raging, but not expressed arguments about what John does. Take Elise, for example, had an argument which was, I guess, something like, you can't do that, Or Terry's argument was more like, it can't be done. I can logically navigate my way through this world without, and this stuff John's talking about how thought is driven from places below the level of conscious awareness. Terry, well, she'll tell you. She wouldn't have any of that. None of that. That was like, nah, fuck that shit. I am a smart, logical lady. Go ahead, Terry. Let's see if I'll unmute Terry if I can do that here. Where is she?
Oh, I can do it. Yeah,
Okay.
I got it. Yeah. I really thought that if I just saw something and told myself something, that would be it. I thought if I could come up with logical reasons. And so here John came along and said, well, go back and think about this childhood thing. And that's where it has to start. And that didn't make logical sense to me. Other thing is that I knew if I had to go back and look at some of that childhood stuff, I was going to have to deal with some memories and some aspects of me that I wasn't particularly proud of, and I didn't like to look at that. And because I was uncomfortable with that, I thought, well, everybody else is going to be uncomfortable with that. So I was really kind of blaming the people. So, but that's not the case. I mean, Ralph, you're like, wow, I can look at this and I can actually make some adjustments and kind of move through it. So a lot of my argument when I really started looking at it, it was because where I was uncomfortable in seeing some places where I was spoiled or I was mad at my mom, I just didn't really like looking at that stuff. And so because I had some discomfort, I thought, well, I surely can't really be honest with people about what actually, where this starts, because they might be uncomfortable too. And so for me, it was a long time. On one hand, I could see, what John was doing in rewrites. I could see some impact it had at me, but I was like, but there's got to be a way where you can just explain this. And so
Terry had all the words. She had all the words memorized.
Yeah.
But none of the application.
Yeah. And what it's really taken is me doing more and more of the application to me. A lot of it to realize that things that I was upset about or thought was a threat weren't really that thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So I had to resolve that in me before I can sort of say, okay, yeah, this is what we actually have to do here. But Ralph, you make a good point, because I worked in a couple tank offices and I pussyfooted around a lot of that, and the floating alone was not a viable business. I mean, it's nice, it's people enjoy it, but it didn't really go to why they were there or provide them a something they were really looking for. So it was kind of float center light. It wasn't really, it didn't have substance.
Okay. Would you agree, Terry and Elise, that as fast as you wrote that program, you can rewrite the program? Would you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Terry's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe not. Well, it's true, it's.
Yeah, you can. I've had that experience. I've watched people. So, my experience is that sometimes it takes a while for it to totally bubble up through all of the pieces.
Okay,
but there is a marked thing that changes right there when you finally go, dang, I am done with this.
Okay, but can we say though that the real gating factor or the real critical factor there is that you didn't want to be done with it until one day when you said, okay, I give up.
Yeah, that actually is true. I hung on to some little place where I thought, but and so I wasn't done. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, Jesse's been down there for a month now, dealing with this poor me program where he identifies as something other than a person. He's got it written down that he's a special little poor pitiful little pumpkin, and I think it's a very fair statement to say that we've done a pretty good frontal assault on that program over the last 4 weeks, especially in recent days. But when you get right down to it, as I told Jesse earlier today, he's either going to let it go or he's not going to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like how we often talk about that is we're trying to separate him from that program, from what he's using to think with, to get to the mind that is beyond just that one thing that it's been the rule of his life since he was a little kid.
Yeah. So what would you say, Terry, in terms of, we're talking today about goals, which is the first of the 11 facets or parts of the goals means program. How does somebody think about that? If they've identified that poor pitiful little me program or whatever it is, how do they, how do you think about that? All right, now that you've identified it, as John was talking about, you've traced it back to some memory. When we do the intro class and when we do the rewrite, at this very point, we're like, what's your goal?
Yeah. Well, one thing, it kind of depends on what level of thinking, because the goal in the intro class is usually often a personal, professional goal. In a rewrite, it's going back to where that memory that you're trying to give it different color, because that memory had a goal. I mean, you wrote a program from it, so there was a goal that formed from that. And so we usually ask, it's like, okay, you had a goal with that thing. Knowing what you know now, what could be a new goal?
So Terry, are you saying that the example that John and Ralph just went through might qualify for this conversation?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Paul has a question then.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Ralph just went through, and I pretty much heard his voice shift when he realized what John was saying with regards to this memory not having to be a betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Ralph was 3 when he decided his mom betrayed him with that idea.
Yeah.
And then mature Ralph just heard it again and said, well, wait a minute. That wasn't exactly a betrayal, right? That was something else.
Yeah.
That wasn't a betrayal. And all of a sudden, these changes are cascading through his programming already, right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we usually say to help somebody identify a goal based on what they found to not be working, right? It has to countermand the goal that he originally put in place.
Yep.
Terry, which you were just getting to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Add something there, John?
Yeah, well, I having done a couple of 3 of these, generally what happens is that when you start listening to somebody's story, can I tell Moshe's story? Moshe's story?
I'm sure. Yeah, he's. There's actually a video of it up if people are interested. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's true. There is. Okay. Well, but not the way I'm going to tell it.
I bet.
Moshe is a brilliant man. Okay, Moshe is Terry's husband, and he's a very brilliant man. What does he do, T?
He's an astrophysicist.
Okay, and he goes to places because of this, right? Where does he go?
Mm-hmm. Oh, he goes all over Europe, Middle East, East, for research and conferences and stuff,
Okay.
all over the world.
Yeah, gets around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Moshe got a hold of me about a year ago, I guess, maybe a little less, and said he wanted to do a rewrite. I said, okay, let's do it. So he started telling me stories about his current life and so forth, and I knew some stories because I'd known him for a while, and one of the stories he told that had stuck in my memory for some reason or the other was a story that his ex-wife had said about that no one was ever going to replace his sister. And I asked him about that memory. And when I did, oh my God, the Niagara Falls began to fall. I mean, there was a cascade of stuff that came pouring out about his sister, about how wonderful she was now, angelic, and how the heavens opened up. And Oh my Lord! It just went on and on and on and on. And I said, okay, well, excuse me, but why are you mad at her? And then another cascade of stuff started coming down. And then he got angry. Not at his sister, but at somebody who had asked him another question about that, Jenny actually.
Mhm.
And then Paul came in and said, Moshe, you're not being very honest here. Well, I don't think Moshe wanted to hear that, really.
No.
And I'm really sure he didn't want to read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't write for several days, and I'm pretty sure it's because his keyboard had melted.
Yes, he not a happy camper.
Finally, after 2 or 3 or 4 days or a week or whatever it was, he did write, and then all of a sudden the dam burst, and it was no longer a waterfall, but it was a raging river, a raging torrent of pent-up emotional anger or frustrations that ranged from his father to his mother to his sister to, I don't know, to everything around him in his life. But at the end of that torrent, there was a calm in the river, and he's been quite a bit more peaceful ever since. At least in his reporting of it, he has been.
Yeah, that's accurate.
So the thing is that, as soon as I touched the memory, and he started to talk about the memory, and it was okay for him to talk about it, and there wasn't any judgment about who he was or what he had done or any of those kinds of things. Just, well, okay, what's the memory, dude? Then all of a sudden he was able to talk about it, and when he was able to talk about it, he himself was the one who set the goal and what it was really about. I couldn't do it, but he really needed to have, I think, perhaps the catalyst of another individual to listen to his story for a few moments so that he could actually let that story go free.
Yeah. Yeah, it had been bubbling and bubbling and bubbling there for a long time.
Okay. So once that torrent got unleashed, finding a goal for Moshe was
It was pretty simple.
Yeah. No, from there, it's like once it got out there and he could really look at it, it's like, okay, all right, this is where I need to go. Now that now that he said, I never looked at it this way before. I never thought about it this way. As I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, all right, I can do something different now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he was already doing something different by the time he said, I can do something different.
Yeah.
Which is kind of your point earlier. It was already in motion. It
Yeah.
wasn't.
No,
It wasn't.
I feel like, it's funny. We're going through these things, and I just kind of unveiled that. And in my mind, I almost have like a sigh of relief thinking about some things that were going on, more, like lately with this new memory. I almost, again, I'm like thinking different about it, and like a calmness.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty strange.
Yeah, it's not a conscious process. Craig, Ralph, right there, that was my argument, because I could have those experiences and I couldn't quite explain them, but they're real. I would have them too.
It's funny you call me Frank. It's my dad's name.
Oh, I didn't realize I had. Sorry, I don't know why. I barely know any Franks.
It's a sign. My dad's around.
Okay. So where do we go from goals? What do we
So what would be my goal? To identify all the threats or not be threatened?
Well, no, because like Well, it's like the first inquiry is like you said that there's this kind of betrayal sense of things, right?
Mhm.
And then
Let's
then
say,
John
let's
came.
say, Ralph, let's say it like this: a goal is a destination. So where are you going with this?
I'd like to have a clear conscious of this anger, this thing, you know, this feeling in my
It's not about the anger; it's about the threat. Remember?
right. Eliminate the threat, the feeling of threat.
Okay, so you want to eliminate the threat, but we're not at elimination; we're at goals. So, what was the goal of the threat to begin with? So, in other words, what's the goal of the betrayal? What is it you would like, if anything could be done? What is it you'd like? What would you like to be done when you feel betrayed and you're angry?
I guess the reverse, to not feel angry. No.
Yeah. But when you're feeling angry, what's the goal? Oh, I want to beat the crap out of them. Oh, I wish they'd behave. I wish they hadn't lied to me. How do you see the goal?
Resolve the problem.
To resolve the problem between you and that person.
Correct.
Okay, but that's why you're angry, because they don't want to resolve the problem.
I don't know the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but the situation is a big asshole thing, and I'm trying to get down to a thing.
Like, all right, if I think about like somebody gives notice, it's the situation I'm angry at, not that person. Like, this fucking guy gives me no notice. You know what I mean? If I feel like chopping his head off at that point. Well, I shouldn't. He's a human.
Whoa. Let's keep it straight. You're angry at the guy at that moment. Now,
Yeah.
from here, you're not angry at the guy. You're angry at the situation. But at that moment, you're angry at the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, that just shit happens, right? So you're angry at the guy. You don't go chop his head off, but you're angry at the guy at that moment. Okay. So think about this. What kind of visceral, what is the let's say what would be the result of, in your mind, not you go to jail or so, what would be the result of you being even with that guy?
I don't know. Like in some scenarios, I feel like to be even, I'll get him fired from his other job. He'll have no job.
Okay. In other words, you want to have a revenge then, okay? So your goal, your current goal, the way it plays out right now in this life, at this time in your life, is that you want revenge for a wrong, okay? And we don't need to paint in the colors. We just call it that and say, yeah, it's over there, sort of like that. Okay, fair enough.
Fair.
Okay. So then what we say is, okay, we don't want to go to revenge to the guy. We don't want to take, he doesn't have a job. I mean, we do, but we don't really want to do that. So what do we want? What we really want is we want to sit down with the guy and say, okay, what the fuck is your problem here? What's really going on? How come you didn't tell me this thing here? What, I didn't treat you right? Where was the error? Did I fuck up, or did you? I mean, that's really what you want to do with it, right?
Yeah, yes and no, John, because again, I'm king of that. It's when they don't want to do that.
Exactly. They don't want to, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's pissing you off because they don't want to what?
I don't know, fucking listen.
Okay, they don't want to give you a chance, huh?
Maybe.
Okay, so let's just say that in this instance, if we were going to write a goal here, we'd say what the goal would be now for you to put the goal would be to get a chance to be able to talk with them. Okay, just almost, let's just change it over to that being the goal rather than revenge. Okay, so then we could go to what's the means. The means would be to actually bring that goal in from the future into the present. So therefore, when I'm talking to anybody, the goal would be to what? It would be to achieve, in order to achieve the goal. What I want to do is I want to say, okay, I'm talking to you, and I want you to understand, even though I'm just now thinking about hiring you, that should you ever get ready to go, I don't want a betrayal from you. So are you a kind of person that will betray me? Will you leave without notice at all? And then you look at the person's eye and see how they answer you. When you ask that question, they're going to answer you. They're going to answer you. So that's bringing that goal into the future, into the present right now. Is that you want to have the chance over there of where that's going to be. Now we could go on through that, which Ken will do, I guess, with all of the other steps. But that gives you an idea about how practical a goals program is, because you can actually then look at individual parts of a given programming set that we all have. All of us have that set. That goals mean set. All of us.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting to have, again, you guys to kind of bounce it off of, because if I'm at a computer or reading a book and trying to do these steps out, based off of the Office of Shaman, that's kind of, that's complex what you just broke down.
Yeah, I know, you can't do it. It's really hard to do. Okay. But Ralph, at the same time, I was never really comfortable with agreeing with anybody to do what I do. Like what I just did right there, try doing what I just did yourself with somebody. It looks easy when I do it sometimes, but it isn't really. It requires some degree of consideration to be able to, I asked you one question and was able to get back into your childhood and find a place that you could begin to use to unravel an employee difficulty that you're talking about. Can we take a few more questions than that, I think? Yeah, Ken?
Yeah, for sure, John. Just, I'm getting better, but just like every skill I have, I'm getting better at it. Just
I got it.
Not the use.
I've been doing it way longer than you. That's the thing.
Yeah. You got to trot it out and use it, which gets us back to that point at the beginning about trotting it out and using what we know. Yeah, if John was sitting in my float center, there'd be 3 or 4 questions. Me, 6, 10, a couple of visits. But I'm going to pay attention to it too.
You learn. That's how I learned. Was sitting in a float center asking 15 questions and saying, "Oh, I should just ask one." Damn, you've been running off in the mouth with it. And shut the fuck up, huh?
What do we got from? Okay, so we talked about with you, Ralph. Both. We talked about both the goal and the means. As John pointed out, the means bring the future goal into the present in your thinking. And I'm going to talk to people about this now. See where they're at now. Terry, do you have slides on means that you want to bring up there we could look at? Or did we pretty much go through all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think what this is about, Terry, and maybe I'll say it because I've never seen this before earlier today, is that when we do these programs and people get their goal and we ask them what the means are, like in an intro class, someone might say, my goal is to buy a 1-bedroom house in New Providence, New Jersey. And then you say, all right, well, what's the means to the goal? And then they'll be like, well, I'm going to have to go to the bank. I understand why that makes sense. I'm going to have to raise the funds. I'm going to have to hire a moving truck. I'm going to have to pack. None of those are the means, which point people sometimes express some degree of uh, frustration over the fact that no, they're not the means. You ain't going to get your goal done if you think that way. When you bring the future goal into the present with the means, all those things in between are going to get done anyway. The means is to go to the bank. No, it's not. If your goal is to buy a house in New Providence, a 1-bedroom house, your means is to buy a 1-bedroom house in New Providence. What? Really? Yeah. Means brings the, this slide says, means brings the goal from the future into the present.
Well, that's one of the things that prevents people from accomplishing, because they think there's 5 or 10 other things they got to do first before they can actually accomplish their goal.
They're going to get fixing to get to that goal, but never really get there, right, Terry?
Right, get the exercise mat, get the cute outfit, get their videos, get the weights, have the exercise room, but actually build muscles? I don't know.
Yep. Make sense, Ralph?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sense of it as we're talking. You
Yeah.
know, what means do I need to take in my mind to reach this goal? You know what I mean? And the thoughts that go behind it. Because then I think that you're right. As I rethink it, then there is a sense of relief when it comes down to these items, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yep. You remember John's early question of what's the threat, you know? Because there ain't one, at least not one in the external reality, just one that you might perceive. You know, it's
I'm starting to see better how it kind of connects now with, make a program, what the program is, the feeling. And yeah, it's instant, but you know what? It does take time, because as time goes on, now, I want to see it's in practice as situations come up, to how I react to the new situations, because I am thinking about past situations, and I could think about them with like a sigh of breath. But it's going to be interesting when the new ones come out, where it's like, you're in the pressure cooker.
well, the thing is that those new situations, whether they're pressure cookers or not, are still going to be navigated, perceived, gotten through based on your existing program set. I could say it that based on your memories. Remember, like what we're showing people here is that memory is malleable. It's changeable. It's one of the things that I think is really fascinating about memory, that when you pull a memory out, it makes it susceptible to change. So if you change the memory, let's just say that place where you perceived a threat, well, guess what happens when that situation comes up again? The new program is operational. So you don't, yeah.
You've grown new synapses, remember?
Yeah.
So the more emotionally, the more real the memory is. Okay. In other words, if you can pull the memory up to the point that you're saying, "Oh man, yeah, I felt just like this," and then you say, "Well, wait a second, that's how I felt." But you know what? I didn't. There was no need, and you change how you felt about it. You say, "No, that's how I felt then." But now I find that I feel like this. What'll happen is that, and there'll be synapses that will do that.
Yeah.
Again, my mind is racing through memories and thinking, holy shit, what these things mean.
Yeah.
Yep.
I understand.
Well, the only ones that are interesting really are the ones that happen before or around the time that you learn to talk and walk. Those are the most instructive.
I'm gonna concentrate later. Think about that. That's what I want to do in the tank now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go in a tank and
Yeah.
think about when I'm
Then
2, 3.
Ralph,
You know?
Ralph, then I'll tell you what. Start writing those memories down, and the next time tomorrow night, if something comes up for you, write it down. You know, make a little note of it. So tomorrow night we can talk about it. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Fair.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it's after 8, so tomorrow night we'll come back at 7:00 and we'll talk about what, Terry? What we got?
We're getting into charisma. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is super important. Ralph's going to need a new charisma to have this conversation with that next employee.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We got a whole batch of Christmas with you guys over here, so be in good hands.
Yeah.
All right, good night,
Right.
Dan.
Thanks.
Good night, guys.
Thanks everybody. Thanks panelists. Thanks attendees. Thanks
Bye all.
again for
Okay, good
participating.
night.